Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I'm an outside clinical specialist, and I've been invited here today to support you, to review a few core practices that are, honestly, the absolute heart of what you do. I know the work you do as direct care staff, whether you're an RSA, a mental health professional, a nurse, or a recovery support specialist, is incredibly demanding. I also know you care deeply about doing it well. My goal today? It's not to look backward. We are looking forward together. We're going to walk through the everyday practices that empower you as professionals and protect the community we serve. All right, let's just dive right in. So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover the heart of our work, rounds and face checks, responding to crisis safely, documentation as protection, clear handoffs, and finally, speaking up.
Let's start with number 1, the heart of our work. You know, our residents are people and community members first. And when substances or complex behavioral issues are in the mix, it is absolutely crucial to remember that our residents are often the targets of predatory external forces, not the problem themselves. By treating them as patients first, with genuine dignity and respect, we literally change the entire dynamic. Doing this work well, it's a win for the residents, who get a safe place to heal, it's a win for you as professionals, and it's a massive win for the surrounding neighborhood.
Moving on to part 2, rounds and face checks.
I really want to emphasize something here. Face checks are not just regulatory chores. They just aren't. They are these critical, real moments of connection that allow us to ensure a resident's safety and well-being. It's a visual confirmation that, hey, someone is okay. These rounds are exactly how we intervene early if something is wrong.
Now, face check intervals are strictly individualized, based entirely on clinical risk. If you look at a risk assessment and management plan form, you'll notice pretty quickly that not everyone is on the same schedule. And that's because not everyone has the same needs, right? A resident with recent substance use, an elopement history, or maybe someone who just got back from a hospital stay, they need a much shorter interval. The whole goal is making sure those who actually need more support get it.
Applying this in the real world is what really counts. So, imagine this scenario. It's 3 a.m., you're on the overnight shift, and you have a new arrival in their very first week. They're disoriented, maybe at high risk. Actually performing and documenting those hourly face checks, even in the dead of night, is exactly what keeps that vulnerable person safe. It ensures that if they're struggling, they are found in time for us to step in and help.
Okay, let's shift to Section 3, responding to crisis safety.
In our environment, overdose preparedness is incredibly urgent. If you're doing a face check and spot on responsiveness, you need to follow these 4 steps immediately. First, spot the signs. Second, access the facility-wide naloxone. Third, administer it without judgment. And fourth, ensure clinical follow-up. Remember, our primary goal here is always harm reduction. We want to keep residents alive and engaged in treatment, definitely not discharging them as some kind of punishment for a clinical symptom.
Alongside overdose response, we also handle behavioral crises, and we must always draw a really sharp line between proactive, empathetic de-escalation and physical restraint. Proactive de-escalation, that's our primary tool. It means reading those early warning signs and offering calm support. Restraint is an absolute, downright last resort. It's only to be used in a true behavioral emergency where there is immediate physical danger. Let's picture this. You see a resident pacing the hallway, maybe clenching their fists or raising their voice. Stepping in right then with a calm, supportive, plain-spoken response can entirely prevent a crisis. In fact, it's kind of surprising how often just simply asking, "Hey, you look like you're having a tough time, how can I help?" immediately diffuses the tension. Why? Because it shows them they are seen. Residents who feel seen and have a structured purpose are just far less likely to escalate. Now, if a behavioral emergency leaves absolutely no other choice but restraint or therapeutic separation, we have to stick to strict, minute-by-minute clinical guardrails. Manual holds must be under 5 minutes, with absolutely no force or injury. A nursing exam is required no later than 10 minutes after a restraint starts. Therapeutic separation maxes out at 30 minutes before a psychiatric medical director must be contacted, and it requires 15-minute nursing checks. Listen, these aren't just suggestions. They are the professional standards that protect the resident from harm and honestly protect you from liability.
Moving on to part 4, documentation as protection.
I'm going to ask you to view honest, real-time documentation not as some bureaucratic burden, but as your ultimate safety net. Record your initials, the exact time, the location, and the status on the rounds log every single shift. Write clear, descriptive summaries of any incidents in the progress notes, and report serious incidents immediately. Remember the golden rule of healthcare. To an auditor or surveyor, undocumented rounds simply didn't happen. Treat your written record as the caring act that shields your license and your entire team.
All right, Section 5, clear handoffs. A structured, written, and verbal shift handoff is absolutely essential. It has to include these key elements: who the high-risk consumers are and their specific face check tier, any restraint or separation events that happen on your shift, new admits and pending background checks, and any elopement watches or medication concerns. We do all of this so the incoming team is never, ever walking in blind or caught off guard.
Think about how this plays out in real life. You're finishing your shift, and you have a resident who's had a particularly restless, agitated night, specifically alerting the oncoming nurse and the RSA team during the huddle that this resident needs to be kept on a tighter face check tier for the next few hours. That is exactly how we prevent incidents from happening on the next shift. That's real teamwork in action.
And finally, Section 6, speaking up.
In a high-stakes, 24/7 care environment, it is pretty much inevitable that you'll encounter situations where the right path forward just isn't immediately obvious. Maybe you notice a subtle change in a resident's baseline, or you feel uncertain about a specific protocol. So, what's your next move?
Please hear me loud and clear on this. Always ask. Go check on the resident. Escalate the concern to a supervisor, a nurse, or an administrator. Speaking up, asking a colleague for a second set of eyes, or escalating a clinical concern is the absolute ultimate sign of professional competence. It is always valued, and I promise you, it is never punished. We want a culture where early reports shrink problems way before they have a chance to grow.
The work you do here is incredibly meaningful. By mastering these core practices together, doing face checks right, de-escalating calmly, documenting honestly, handing off clearly, and speaking up when unsure, we have the incredible capability to build a profoundly safe environment. Getting these few things right is entirely within our power. It brings genuine hope and healing to our residents, peace of mind to our staff, and real pride to our community. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. On your very next shift, what is one small change you can make to ensure every single resident you interact with feels truly seen and safe?